Well, hello and welcome to aspiring FAONLs. We're thrilled to have you here, and I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm Roseanne Rosso, Board of Directors, Editor-in-Chief Nursing Management, and chairing FAONL Committee this year. And Dale, how do you say your last name? Beatty? See, that's why I didn't want to say it without help. Is on the board as well, co-chairs with me, and is the CNE at Stanford. And then we have Kevin, right, how do you say your last name? McCune?
Yeah, very good. Close.
Oh, all right, I knew I wouldn't be it. All right, so Kevin. Kevin is the chief nurse of Madison Health in Idaho, a state I've never been to. And he is a recent, last year FAONL. And he is going to talk about the really hard stuff that you want to know. So let's get going. These are our FAONLs from this year. Anybody in the room? We'd like to applaud you. Okay, so we were very thrilled with this group. Well, we're always thrilled with the group. So, about the designation, it's fairly new. So 28, well, I'll go into the timeline on the next slide, but it is the highest honor for AONL, and it signifies significant and sustained contributions to nursing leadership and to AONL. It is an AONL award. So the focus, and you've probably looked at the questions already, is very focused on how AONL has influenced your career growth, how you have supported the mission, vision, and strategic plan of AONL in a significant, sustained way. But you don't have to be a chief nursing executive. You don't have to be, there's no title that you have to be. It is about your contributions. So it's not about title. So the timeline is fairly recent. It started with a fellow designation committee in 17 to 18 who developed the criteria. Anybody here who was on that original group? Oh, Rob Church over here from New York. So they're the ones that came up with these hard questions that you're all trying to write essays about. And it has not really changed, in intent over the years. So 2019 was the first class, and now there is about 100, well, now there's 100 and something, however it was, and 120 probably after yesterday's induction. And everybody always wants to know, what's my chances? I put in an application, how many people get rejected, what's the acceptance rate? So this is over the years, and you see it varies a little. So there was more acceptances in the 2021, 2022 range. For the past few years, we've been running anywhere from 65 to 80%, I would say. So it's a more than half chance, a way more than half chance of getting accepted when you apply. So I'm going to turn over the middle half of this presentation about the application itself to Dale.
Thank you, Roseanne, and good to see everyone today. I'm Dale Beatty. I'm the Chief Nurse Exec at Stanford Healthcare on the board representing Region 9 and co-chairing again with Roseanne on this. I just wanted to say before we get started, we are going to really be working to enhance our program over time. We appreciate the foundation of those before us in developing it, but we want to advance the program moving forward. So what we're presenting today is what the process is now. We do think we will be making advancements in terms of eligibility as well as some process-related changes to it as well. So we look forward to that and really are glad to see you all here and encourage you all to apply. It's a wonderful award. It certainly, as Roseanne said, really being able to articulate your contribution and impact is critically important. So some of the things we just wanted to mention is the application process will open up in May of 27. So you have time to start thinking and pulling your content together as well. Wanted to go over the eligibility criteria, and I'm told, Kelsey's in the background, the COO of AONL, I'm told that one of the biggest issues with the application is people don't meet the eligibility criteria, and they actually go ahead and end the application. Please make sure you pay careful attention to these 3 very important dot points here. So the first one is you have to be a member with at least 5 years of membership. So that's one. And you can contact the office and they'll validate your number so that you know that before you do all the work associated with. So it's critical to make sure you understand the eligibility. You must have an advanced degree. One must be in nursing. So that's the second. And the third is you have to attend a minimum of 3 of the annual meetings at AONL. So those are the 3 things. I'm going to pause to see if anybody has any questions about those 3 pieces, because we don't want anybody to put time and energy into an application if they don't meet it. Yes?
The AONL conference attendance, does it have to be consecutive?
That's
No.
what I was just going to jump in to say.
Yeah.
It does not have to be.
No, it does not have to be consecutive. Mine wasn't either in terms of it's 3. So thank you for that. So-
What about membership?
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
consecutive.
yeah.
Are we right, Kelsey?
Correct,
Yeah.
not executive member or consecutive membership. And for the conference attendance, we do count the 2 virtual conferences that happened during COVID. But the on-demand programs that we've done since we've been back in person, those don't count. So and that's clearly outlined on the website, but just for clarification, because there was some confusion about that a couple years ago.
And I'll give a big plug for the office as well, because I didn't remember which ones. I sent a note and they sent back a comprehensive summary of, so if you don't know, get clarification up front. We have a question over here. No, it's A1L membership, so because it's a national designation. Daniel.
Is the 5-year requirement at time of application, at time of designation, time of conference?
The time of application, I believe.
Yeah, you can be in the midst of your 5th year, but you have to have at least started your 5th year of membership.
I just want to add, Michael, to the chapter question. It doesn't count from the membership point of view, but chapter work counts a lot in the application. If you have that, it counts a lot. So I don't want you to think that being a chapter active member doesn't mean anything. It does mean a lot.
Thank you guys for all the questions too. This helps everyone to learn, and everyone's probably thinking the same questions, so really appreciate it. So here are the components. This is really the 6 criteria in the narrative session. And so like any designation, every word counts. So word conservation and being precise and concise in what you want to say to be able to articulate your impact and contribution is critically important. Storytelling probably won't be to your best advantage in terms of being succinct in terms of your impact. So the first one is your leadership evolution, which is 20% of the application. And then the second part is AONL contributions to the application. And just want to double down on Roseanne's comment. Chapter work is important. I was president of 2 state chapters, Illinois and ACNL, and so that would be an example of other leadership contribution beyond AONL. Contributions and innovations in nursing leadership, and many of you already have that as well. Contributions to AONL. So all the work that you do on committees or that type of work is critically important. And so you'll see the percentage mark associated with that. And then the plans for the applicant's future leadership development, and thinking long and hard about that as well. And then finally, the last is your professional quality of the written application. And this, I have to say, is critically important. It's good to have someone to actually look at your application and give you feedback and revise it, because sometimes you're blind to your own writing, and so the quality of it's really important. And then the other piece is many of us have had long careers, but you have to limit your CV to 10 pages. And making sure the 10 pages you select show the contribution and impact associated with it. You do need 2 letters of support, and one has to come from a current AONL member, and the other one can come from a sponsor, someone outside of your organization as well. So those are critically important. And I clarified, I thought it needed to be a sponsor with an individual that has FAONL. That is not one of the requirements with that. It's one person who's a member of AONL and the other person outside of your organization. There is an application fee of $350 that is non-refundable, and the application needs to be submitted by 3 o'clock Central Time on the 27th, and that's a strict hard stop. So please note that deadline. Mark it on your Outlook right now, and make sure you have it on Central Standard Time, because that's where the office actually is. Going to pause. Any questions here? Straightforward? Okay, thank you. And then the review process, this is interesting. We have a lot of people that are involved in the review process, and this is part of the work Roseanne and I do as co-chairs, getting individuals that are on the nominations committee. The nominations committee is published. You can actually see who's on the nomination committee. We are asked to recuse ourselves if we know individuals in the process as well, so we want it to be fair and equitable in terms of that piece of it, and that works both ways, both promoting and declining as well. The application is reviewed for completion of the core competencies or the core content that we just went through. The applications will be peer reviewed by 2 or more individuals serving on the selection committee. And again, those individuals that are AONL members that are on the selection committee and I believe all of them are FAONLs now. Everyone on the selection committee are individuals that have been designated with FAONL. The committee decision is final in terms of there's no appeals process in terms of that, and then they can't give feedback on the strengths and weaknesses of your application. That's a kind of a closed process as well. AONL does offer mentorship opportunities. Maybe Kelsey will mention, if you wouldn't mind commenting, Kelsey, again, the COO of AONL, on that mentorship process.
Sure. So we offer our current fellows will serve as mentors, and so if anybody is interested, they can contact actually me directly. My information's on the website, but if you're interested in working with a mentor, you just reach out. We'll actually do our best to try to match you with someone in the same time zone, and then they'll work through. And we've had a couple of the mentors have been doing it for years, and they're really good about even having that initial conversation with you to say, yes, you're ready, I think you have a good chance, or you might need a little bit more time, so that you don't go through all that work and not have a solid chance at it. So it's a really great process. Our mentors do give a lot, and the people who have used them in the past have been really happy with it as well.
Thank you, Kelsey, for that. And there's no limit to the number of times. It's like other professional applications. Sometimes we learn and we grow every time when we evolve in our applications and we learn something that's new. Just make sure you follow the criteria, because it could change from year to year. So that's incredibly important to make those refinements. I don't think is there a cap on the number of people you can sponsor?
No.
Yeah.
And I'll just add, we have people every year that reapply, and that will make it the next year or the following year that they apply. So, definitely don't get discouraged. As Roseanne said, that sort of acceptance rate fluctuates anywhere from 60 to 90%, and it's really, that percentage is completely based on the applicant pool for that year. So don't be scared off by that 60%, and then also don't feel really safe by that 90%. It really is just dependent on the pool, but yeah.
Yeah, the percentages are just to give you some general knowledge. They're not informative necessarily about the application because the cohort of applicants you could get could change from year to year. But the criteria has been pretty similar. We are going to be looking again to make some enhancement. Roseanne, did you want to say something?
I did, but I forgot, so keep talking.
Okay, wonderful. We'll keep going then along the way. We have time for that as well. So there's lots of benefits for FAONL. I've been a member of AONL for a very, very long time, and I really wanted to substantiate my impact and be able to understand how I've been able to contribute and how I could contribute more in the future, and it was really good exercise for doing that. As you definitely can use the FAONL credentials, and you'll get a pin that says FAONL, and you'll be published on the website as well. There is a ceremony which we just had with the inductions of new individuals into the annual conference. Generally, you submit your application, and you learn at the end of the year prior to the annual program, the next annual meeting. So generally, it's November, December, you will know, and then at the annual meeting in April, March, April, that's when you will be inducted. So you have time to make your arrangements, et cetera. The names of the inductees, again, are on the website, which is nice. It's, again, 120 plus people that are fellows of the AONL. And it also would be spotlight in the AONL working for you in the newsletter as well. And then there's just additional opportunities that you will be invited to explore, including like being on the nominations committee to review applications. I know everyone that's on the committee is very serious about taking the time to be judicious and reading the application because we know the time and energy applicants put into the application as well. With that, I'm going to pause to see if anybody has any questions. Kelsey, any need to course correct? We're on the.
No, I think actually the only other thing I would add, that sort of last bullet point, and I think Kevin can maybe expand upon it, but we have Kevin is leading our subcommittee this year on looking at expanded opportunities to engage our fellows post-induction. So whether it be serving on one of our member-led groups or serving as mentors, we're piloting this year. I believe we have 8 fellows that are serving as mentors to our emerging professional voice members. So just looking for ways to sort of continue that engagement once you've been inducted.
There was a new one this year. There was designated seating at the very front of the general sessions for fellows.
Yeah, we expanded that, so fellows have reserved seating at every plenary throughout the entire conference. So that's one that they really like.
And I do want to stress what Dale is saying about the rigor of the review process. So every application, and it's not blinded. I know that we usually get a question about that, and that's why we make sure that the reviewers excuse themselves or recuse themselves if you know the applicant, and that includes the two of us as chair and co-chair. So it's not blinded, it's very rigorous, there's scoring criteria. So from that process, if there's like one that's like okay and one is not okay, then it goes into a middle of the road, and then we get to look at it. So it really is, and then we have a whole committee discussion on everything before the final. So it really is quite rigorous, and it's all based on your application. So what you write is what it's all about. We're not looking on LinkedIn to see, what you've done that maybe isn't there. We're not talking to our friends. Do you know this one or that? That's not, it's about what you're writing. So what Kevin is going to talk about now is about what you write.
Got to finish up here a little bit, and then we'll.
Okay.
So I just wanted to comment on that piece of. There's multiple eyes that are on the application. It's just not 2 people. There's a process which they will be escalated and reviewed, and ultimately the review process. It goes to the selection goes. The slate goes to the board of directors, and the board of directors approves the slate. So there's multiple layers of review and approval as well. And then finally, Roseanne, I'm going to wrap it up here. This is the timeline articulated for the designations. So application deadline is August 27th. So August 27th at what time? 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So just want to emphasize that piece of it because that's really important. And then you'll see the review process is September and October of 26, and then the endorsement by the AONL board is at the November AONL board meeting 2026, and notification will go out in December of 2026. And then the induction ceremony will be in Phoenix next year from between April 12th and 15th. So we hope to see you all there in the induction ceremony as well. It's a great opportunity as well. And with that, I'm going to transition over to Kevin to bring us home.
So as already, ooh, wow, that's really loud when you get close. So as already introduced, I'm a new fellow. Last year was inducted in Boston, and that was intentional. Like, I love Boston, so I kind of chose to let's apply and hopefully get it, at the year that it was meaningful. Not that Chicago isn't meaningful, but it's a little bit, yeah, you gotta. It's really about time and timing. The first is timing. You need to be eligible. So you need to look into those criteria and make sure that you meet that. And if there's doubts or questions, certainly make sure that you check that. And then it's taking the time. I know that Dell overstressed the time that it's all due. We really hope you're not writing this on the 27th at 2 p.m. Central Time. You need to take the time to develop this and to develop it with those that you're that is sponsoring you, those letters of endorsement. We'll talk through some of that. But I'm kind of the poster child on, anybody can be a fellow. You just have to have received lots of benefit from being an AOL member and then giving back. And even though I've been a member for like my entire career, I think my first AONE conference was 2 years in as a new nurse, so and I just kind of stuck with it. Really, what went into my application and the 5 criteria was what had I contributed or how AONL had really contributed to my career over just the last 6 or 8 years prior to application, not the entire 30 years. So there are a couple criterias that are a little bit challenging for people. This is the areas we've seen historically that people kind of trip up a little bit, and they're the 2 areas that really talk about how has AONL contributed to your professional development, and the next criteria we'll talk about is how have you contributed to AONL. It really is that give and take piece of it. So I just took some examples off of my application from 2 years ago. AONL has been the place that I presented my very first poster presentation from my graduate work, 20 plus years ago. And then I've had opportunities to do additional poster and podium presentations. And this picture is actually a picture of me and a graduate student because I've used that same forum to help other people present at our AONL conferences, which is great. I don't have to actually do the work. The graduate students do all the work, right? And then I just support them along, and I'm like, you should apply to present at AONL. And they're like, no, I can't do that. I'm like, yes, you can. You've got a great project here. You've done wonderful work that needs to be disseminated, and the chair of your program will really love it if you present nationally. So I've kind of pushed that amongst others. But that leadership development, there's tons of resources and opportunities beyond our conferences for each of us to receive support from AONL. And then, as mentioned, the state chapter leader groups. I've been involved with my local chapters in 2 different states. Similar to Dale's been, president of 2 different chapters in 2 different states. And that was just about being, engaged in my local organizations. And so those aren't required. You don't have to have been the president. But you are going to have to demonstrate how AONL has helped you grow as a leader in this criteria. The second criteria is the criteria where your contributions to AONL, and that gets back to both. And like these examples, I've served on multiple committees. Every year, AONL puts out a request. If you would like to serve on a committee, fill out this form, tell us which committees you'd like to serve on, and if you're not selected, they often keep you in mind for other things that come up throughout the year. And so it's a matter of just giving back and finding opportunities to do that. And so you can see over this, my local chapter presidency, AONL board membership. I was a board member. You know, that's not a requirement either. And in fact, when you are serving on the board, you're not eligible to apply. So you have to get off the board to become a fellow, which was a little frustrating at the time. So, because I was like, I don't know how to not be involved, but be eligible, you know? And so had to wait a year or two after that. But then the conference planning, all of those kind of strategic task force that are involved with AONL, it's just, how have you offered yourself up to support at any level?
And Kevin, I just would inject, because I see some faces in the audience that's on the board at the national level. If you're a board at the chapter level, you're more than eligible to apply.
Yeah, list that. Those are the things. How have you been engaged at your region or national level? All of those things are important. I think the other piece that's and I'll kind of move on from these lists. There's any questions on those two criteria? Because they are the two that people get tripped up the most. It seems pretty straightforward when you're listening to it, right? It's like, what has AONL done to help me? What have I done to support AONL or a chapter? Go ahead. Oh, yes. It's kind of like everything counts if it's been involved within the organization, right? State or national. So write those things out, and that's a part of that criteria. Any other questions on the two criteria? So some other kind of tips and suggestions is, you know, we have mentioned this already, that we're only looking at what you present in your application itself. We really encourage you to be very specific. Words matter, but as mentioned, you only have so many words to offer up, so, you know, use those in defining and describing what you're doing. Be clear about your contributions. And make them personal. Sometimes the contributions sound like the team was involved in this project, or you were on a team that did something with your state, or but it didn't really point out your contribution specifically. So sometimes you have to be a little proud and, you know, do some I statements, the things that you did. In nursing, we have a hard time. We use a lot of we. There's a lot of we. We did this, we did that. It's like, yeah, but what did you do? You know? And when you come down to it, you were the leader. You were the one who led the task force, the committee, the project, the conference, local conference, whatever it was. You know, make sure you kind of don't be too bashful about that. Being concise is important. I already talked about your CV. What I would encourage is make sure that, I think this is on the next slide, but you're going to need to have 2 endorsements, letters of endorsement of support, and you're going to want to make sure that you have written up your criteria and shared it with them, and shared your CV with them. They may know you very well, but they may not know everything you've done, and we really want those letters of support to tie it all together. So if your CV says one thing, and your criteria write-up say one thing, and your letters of support say something completely different, although all true and about you, it doesn't tie the whole package together. So that's why taking the time to write up that narrative criteria is really important, because you're going to want to share that with those people that are writing the endorsement, so they know to speak about that part of your professional development. And in many cases, you're choosing people that have been involved in that. And so for me, one of the writers of the letter of support was a mentor friend of mine who was my first nursing director. She's been somebody I've gone back to with every decision to go back to school or to take a job or to do whatever. She's been kind of that constant person in my life. So professionally, she's known my whole trajectory. The other person was a current fellow that I'd served on the AONL board with, and he had known kind of my work in AONL. And so those things were well represented in my CV and in my narratives, but those 2 individuals could speak to it very well. Sometimes you think you want to get the letter of support from your boss. your boss may not know all you're doing. I know that's probably shocking. But, you know, professionally, we do a lot of things maybe outside of our job description that they can't speak to as much as somebody who's kind of been involved with you in some of that journey. And so take the time, draft, edit. Don't let Chat GPT write this for you. It won't work. It doesn't know you as well as you know you. And so, you know, it needs to be authentic. We need to hear that, and we need to feel that. It's pretty obvious if it was AI written. I mean, it's often interesting to Google or AI yourself and see what it says about you. Some of you are pretty incredible. Most of you all of you are incredible, and AI thinks you're even more incredible. But it may not tell the truth about all the things that it finds on you. So, good idea to complete the application with a buddy, meaning have somebody help you, support you through that. Have somebody who's reading that, very similar to what you've done in your academic studies. You know, have somebody read it and give you feedback, somebody who's close to you who will tell you the truth. I think sisters are really good at that. Sisters are very honest with us. So, and if they're a nurse, that's great. If they're not, even better, because it has to make sense. This is a formal application, and we want it to be taken serious, and we'll see that. And I think Kelsey would tell you those people who weren't successful, it usually looks like it was thrown together without a lot of congruency and without the time to really go through it. You know, whether it's grammatically or it just didn't flow, or there were parts of each of those criteria, or even one significant criteria that just did not meet what the objective was. So get help, get support. This is not a thing to do alone. We're all in this to support each other and to elevate each other. My hope would be that every one of you plan to apply. I think when I sat through one of these informational sessions 2 or 3 years ago, I walked out and thought, well, I don't think I can do that. I was wrong. It took time, and I had to find the right people to help support me. But I'm a chief nursing officer in a little hospital in eastern Idaho. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Like, I don't have one of these big, elaborate positions, but I've been engaged with AONL as my professional organization most of my career, and it has given me back tenfold. And that's what I represented in my write-up.
And that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
You know, giving and receiving in the spirit of everything AONL represents. And you said something important I wanted to underscore about how your boss may know what you do at work, but not what you do outside of work. What you do outside of work is extremely important in the application. It's not just about your job and your job responsibilities, and you may have done amazing things there. If you've disseminated it and it's a national model, and maybe you've talked about that at an AONL poster or podium, or you know, the various ways you can disseminate, then that becomes, you know, something to mention, of course. But I just wanted to stress that kind of outside of work and work responsibilities is very important in the application.
And I'll add to both of your comments too. You know, the sponsorship isn't just about getting a letter. The sponsorship is really having someone that really knows you, can advocate for you and support you through that whole process. And so finding someone that really knows your body of work is going to make your application much stronger. And so the sponsors that I worked really gave me strong feedback saying, well, what about this? You missed this. If they don't know your work, they can't do that. The second piece I would say, which Kevin said, which I think is really important, is tying it all together. And just a tip that I use that I would share with all of you is when you write your evidence, the content and impact in your narrative, make sure you crosswalk your CV and line it, bold it or line it or highlight it in your CV to show that you have it in your CV, because you got to get that down to 10 pages, but you want to make sure that he said the word lined up. It's critically important. So, and it's helpful to the sponsor though when they're writing the letter too to say, oh, okay, these are the pieces in the letter that they wanted to emphasize, or in the application that they wanted to emphasize. So you can help your sponsor that way too. So just a tip, think about that in terms of lining it up with your CV, because if they read the narratives and there's nothing on your CV, it's kind of hard to know, was it done at this organization, another organization? So it really helps them in the review process.
And Dale, I'll just add, just to expand on that even further, that those are the questions that the reviewers are specifically asked as they're going through your application. Narrative 1, was this represented in their, was the evidence represented in their narrative? Yes or no. Was it represented in their CV? Yes or no. Was it represented in their letter of support? Yes or no. So they're looking at every narrative, and do those 3 pieces that you submitted, is it reflected? So just highlighting that once again.
Thank you, Kelsey.
The question is whether there's a margin or font requirement.
Yeah.
From a margin point of
Good
view, I
question.
mean, you're putting it in boxes, so there's no margins. You're putting
There
it
is for the
in a
letters of
box.
support, just, and your CV. Letters are 1 page, and your CV, again, is 10, and those have the requirements. And again, those are noted on the website, but as Roseanne said, the application itself is built in a platform. I think we mentioned it. Highly recommend drafting this in Word. It can check your word count, and then you can just copy and paste that once you're final and ready into the application portal.
Yeah, and there's no grace on the word count. Like, you just cut off when you get to the word count. So you really have to, and it takes some editing to get there. Sometimes you can even use abbreviation. I mean, you'll figure it out. You know, leave out the adjectives to the verbs. Like, you don't need those. There's ways to edit to get in the word count.
And the other thing, and Kevin said this as well, and I would just, but I would say have fun along the way. I mean, as nurses, we're oftentimes educated and culturized to be very humble. This is not the time for that. You know, be very bold in what you've been able to do. Certainly be honest about what you're doing. I mean, that's the foundation of everything that we do, have honesty and integrity. But don't be afraid to brag about what you've done within your, with your contribution and impact. And Kevin made that comment. I wanted to double down.
Yeah. Comment.
After the initial application, what kind of financial commitment are we looking at, or like recertification process of, reapplying, or is it a one-time you apply, you're rewarded, and then it's lifetime?
I think it's lifetime if you maintain your membership in AONL. Kelsey, I need your help
Looking
here.
to change that, actually. We're looking at other to say, right now there isn't, but we're having discussions. There's been no decision on that, but we wanted to say up front, from a transparency perspective, there may be in the future.
Correct. So right now, the only requirement to maintain the certification is that you maintain your national membership.
There is no recertification fee after 5 years or anything like that. No tests.
The application is
You've
a
already
test.
passed the test.
It's an open book written test, and you're doing it. So
All right, there's a question here.
Is there a certain time frame or number of years for the supporting information? For example, you can only use supporting information from the last, say, 3 to 5 years, or?
not
No.
really. It's
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be, relevant to, what you're writing, So, yeah, there may be something on your CV that was 15, 20 years ago, but it's really relevant to how AONL supported you or what you did to support AONL broader, yeah.
When looking for committees and you're reviewing applicants, do you prioritize those who have a strategic vision of becoming fellows? Or does that doesn't go into the equation of who gets awarded a committee spot?
No.
No.
Most of the AONL committees are made up by, we just need geographical coverage and experience and perspectives. So oftentimes we're looking at people who wanted to be a part of AONL, a specific committee, and work through that list of people who volunteered and make sure we've got good coverage. So
That's why the chapter work can become very significant, because honestly, it is hard to get on a committee. There's 1,000 applicants, there's 50 spots. I'm making up those numbers, but it's a There's a big delta
It's a
between
really-
how many spots.
It's a good problem to have as a national organization, that you have so many people who want to volunteer and serve, not just to put on a CV or to become a fellow, but because they genuinely want to be involved in their professional practice, and this is their professional organization. So it's a good problem we have. It's weird to have more volunteers than you can actually select. But
Yeah,
just
and-
keep applying, for things. So.
And the local chapters really do augment the work that we're doing, and so I really want to celebrate that and recognize that work as well. So chapter leadership, and Roseanne made the comment, it's really about being able to extend your leadership impact beyond the four walls of your organization. Certainly chapter leadership does that. And so think about other professional activities that you're in that also extends that. I know some of you are involved with standing up affinity chapters in nursing for the Black nurses or the Philippine nurses or the Hispanic. That's another example of leadership beyond the four walls of your organization that builds community.
So would you put those on your AONL contributions part?
You
or
can,
your impact?
on your impact part, the AONL contribution part's very specific about what your AONL is, but it's a really good exemplar for other leadership activities, which is part of the criteria in the narrative.
Right, and it's supporting the strategic plan and mission and vision of AONL. Any of that work would fit there.
So we expect all of you to apply. It opens in May. I don't remember the actual date, but that's soon. Be thinking about it. Be talking to other fellows, other buddies that can apply together, and obviously reach out to AONL or anybody who can help you along the way, because we do anticipate, I hope everybody leaves the room going, yeah, I can do this. It's a matter of, is this the right time based on the eligibility criteria, and do I have the time to put forth the effort to get this application in by August 27th at 3 p.m. So,
All right, no extra points for being here, but I'm hoping this helped you for your applications.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you all for your interest.